Good day, and welcome to our October webinar. As you may or may not know, Acumatica releases two versions of the application each year. Today, we will be highlighting and reviewing some of the new features in 2023 R2 that was released in early October of this year. Murray and Steve will take you through some of the exciting new features. I'll turn it over to you, Murray.
Thanks, Brenda, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I am just going to go through a set of slides here. Just give me 1 second as it advances. So just a quick introduction. So Brenda kicked it off here, and as she mentioned, both Steve and I will be taking you through a little bit of a tour of 2023 R2. We're going to go fast and we're going to cover a lot of materials, but just some quick introductions. Brenda's our customer success manager. Steve is our director of business solutions, and I'm the president of Acura Solutions. Okay, so just a quick agenda here. So we've just completed the welcome and introductions. This is the agenda slide. I'm going to briefly go through the topics that we're going to cover today. In the overview section here, I'm just going to kind of frame it a little bit to say, hey, who's Acumatica? Who's Acurus? And then why are we here today? So we're going to cover off the Acumatica 2023 R2 main themes, and we'll go through some highlights of that, and we'll share a bunch of different resources so you can learn more about that and understand where it's at and kind of what the next steps are. In terms of once we get into the details of 2023 R2, Acumatica has grouped it into the technology company at its core. So there's a lot of technical and technology and platform enhancements. So we'll go through a few of those. We'll get into the core, a little bit of highlight a few finance and CRM related enhancements. Then we'll spend most of our time in our industry highlights. So distribution, commerce, manufacturing, construction, and projects. I'll cover off for the most of this part here, and then we're going to flip over to Steve. He's going to cover off some manufacturing and construction project enhancements from there. So just from an overview, so who's Acumatica? Acumatica is an intuitive cloud ERP system to power your whole business. So what you'll see is it covers off all aspects of business, starting at its core at the GL as finance, and then getting into the areas of your operational areas. Acumatica is the highest customer satisfaction and the biggest, fastest growing mid-market ERP system. Who are we? We're Acura Solutions Inc. We're a gold certified Acumatica partner in Western Canada, based in Calgary, Alberta. That's where I am. We also have people in an office out in BC. And so again, we're here to go through Acumatica 2023 R2. As Brenda mentioned, this is the second of the Acumatica has standardized into two major product releases each year, and this is the second of those. Usually standardized around April, and this one is just been released in October. The key themes that we always see with Acumatica, I mentioned at the first, business. Acumatica is a technology company at its core. We use technology. It's a modern ERP system built on current web technologies, always looking to enhance business usability using the latest technology to drive growth with the best applications, and again, tailored to your industry. Those are always the key themes that we see, and they're always enhanced with each major release. So here is a very lengthy slide detailing Acumatica 2023 R2 highlights. A couple things, again, this is delivering on their themes, practical technology to power best-in-class applications for your industry. The features, again, they're grouped in the usability areas, technology, and then throughout the modules, financial, payroll, CRM, and then into the industry additions, distribution, retail, manufacturing, construction. So that's how it's grouped. These features, a little bit of an insight into that, is they're developed. Acumatica at its core, again, is a development company, but they take feedback from the industry, from the community, from customers. And so a lot of these enhancements are directly as a result of product suggestions that have been submitted on the community portal and through customer feedback. One of I think some of the highest requested features were consolidated retainage invoices through construction, allocation enhancements for distribution, and some of the customer feedback items have been warehouse management enhancements, returns enhancements, and of course, always enhanced usability. So we'll come back to this stuff here because I'm going to highlight a few things that we're going to get into. Again, we're not going to be able to cover all these items today here. There's just a little bit of information here. So the general availability the product has already been released. What our recommendations are to customers is let the product be released, let it go through a couple of different product updates, and then you can get in on that. It has come through a couple of updates already. So this is a good time to look for it. For new customers, we would kind of go immediately with the new version. For existing customers, it's something that we always work with you and plan with you. So that's a lot of what we do as the partner to help you determine, okay, what do we need to do? What's the process to upgrade? And what's the best timing? Again, 70 new features, 350 minor fixes and improvements and such like that. A lot more information is available on the community page and the release notes. And just a little bit about the release notes. There's the first release note is a 263-page document. There's also developer release notes that's over a 300-page document. So lots of information there. This information is available through the customer portal or through us as the partner. So just let us know any additional information you need. Again, the other thing you can do if you want to know a little bit more, this is on the Acumatica homepage. You can see the R2 launch event information. If you register in here, there is about 5 hours of demos and additional information here. So there's a lot of information if you want. And again, there's a lot more resources that we have here. So with that, I mentioned, again, we're not going to get into all those things here. And these are some of the things that we're going to highlight. So it's the same slide that I showed before. The yellow highlighted areas are areas that we'll just drill into a little bit. Again, we're not going to, be able to spend a lot of time, but we do want to talk a little bit about the AP document, recognition enhancements, some key values and side panels, how we're always introducing additional functionality regarding side panels, a little bit of usability with intelligent text and things like that. I'm not going to get into the custom workflows, but what we see with each release is the ability to manage and automate workflows through business events and things like that. Just gets better each time. So there's a lot of things that Acumatica has always done well, and it just keeps getting better. I'm going to feature a little bit about Acumatica payments. AP aging by project is another key thing that we were looking for a while. Product returns, and then some of the core allocation management. So it's something that very key for distribution, additional margin calculations, and a few other things here. And then Steve will get into a little bit of enhancements with manufacturing around some different statuses, and then a few other things around retainage invoices and construction features. So those are kind of the things we're going to get into. And as I mentioned, we're going to fly through this. So and not spend a whole lot of time on each in here. So I'm going to, kind of take you through a few things over the next 10 minutes or so, and then we'll switch over to Steve, and then Brenda will wrap things up. So AP document recognition, this feature has been around for a while, and we knew when it was released, it was going to get better. Again, it's meant to be an artificial intelligence and machine learning based application. So it learns, as you process AP documents, it learns more about it. So it gets better all the time. Some of the additional enhancements is better date recognition, different language recognition, being able to recognize key fields, purchase orders, and again, improvements for things like handwritten data. It gets better all the time. So if you haven't looked at the feature, have a look at it. And again, Acumatica has this as an embedded feature, not something you have to add in as a third-party application. A couple other things with side panels. I think what side panels have been out there again for a long time. And what this is as you're navigating into the screen, and depending on the status of different records you're looking at, there's some additional options that are available in the side panel. Now with this feature, you can actually edit certain key fields in there And so that enhances the usability. Again, you don't have to click into the other screen. You can just navigate to the side panel and view information. So within here, all these little options here are different things you can view, and then you can actually interact with some of the data. Again, from a usability standpoint, it just avoids extra clicks so that you can just, kind of go about your day faster without having to open up additional screens. I'm going to take you through a couple of things just as in the context of some usability and technical enhancements. So I'm going to walk you through a few things around text suggestions and info tips. What this is that, all I'm going to show you here is that as the user might be on a CRM case and typing a little bit of information, and then as you type, you notice as it goes through, and I'm not typing, I'm just screenshotting this, as you know, but it actually recommends changes and things like that, or recommends text that you can do. And again, it learns, it gets better over time, so you can save that up here, and then different things that it recognizes, and it gets better over time. Again, just a couple of usability type things. The next one is info tips. And so notice info tips, it's a little kind of a question mark that as you hover over certain fields, it becomes available. And what that does is it helps give you more context sensitive information that might be there. So as the user clicks on that, then as you click on that little info tip, additional panel opens up that allows you to click on different things and just get access to the resources that you need a little bit faster. Again, nothing too earth-shattering in there, but these are little enhancements that just enhance the usability of Acumatica, around just some basic technical usability type things. One of the core additions, this was announced at our last Acumatica Summit. However, we haven't seen a lot of features and releases since that. So I think we're getting close with this, and Acumatica has now released a certain amount of features with Acumatica payments. And so what this is, it's a native merchant account payment processing engine within Acumatica. And so some of the key things that's included in its core, it's developed by Acumatica. You're not having to install an additional third-party product or some other additional set of features. And there are some great products out there that specialize in this kind of thing. Each of them has their advantages and disadvantages. The advantage of this one, it's included with the core. There's nothing to install. Acumatica goes through regular updates, direct support with Acumatica, and there's some kind of native and natural kind of integrations and things like that. So there's some benefits of that. And I would say we've seen some barriers with some of our customers to kind of, adopt some of the connected payment applications. And this kind of takes away some of those barriers. Again, it's kind of a trade-off around the functionality, but we think, again, this is something that'll get better and better over time. Some of the features that are in there, obviously credit card support, gift cards and loyalty, click to pay, so that if you've got an invoice that goes out, the customer can click to pay and then process credit card from that. Integration with mobile, so the mobile Acumatica mobile app, so you can take payments on the road if you're a service-based company, and so support for chip cards and things like that. And of course, us in Canada, it's important that, we actually have Canadian support. Our banks are different. Our credit card processing, we use debit cards more frequently here in Canada. So again, it's important that stuff works for us in Canada. Just a couple of those screens here. I'm not going to get into the technical details here, but with it being native, within Acumatica, some of the screens are just more naturally available and kind of easier to kind of set up and use. This is just a quick, snapshot of some things regarding the mobile payments. And again, it works if you're a mobile field service company or if you're in the field, with a salesperson with a sales order, things like that. So you can capture credit card information right there a little bit easier. Card present sales, again, if you can integrate it with terminals to process card present sales. And I mentioned gift cards. So gift cards and loyalty is something that we've haven't had in the product as well as we'd like it to be. So there's different commerce, or point of sale systems that might have some of that, but what we'd like to see is it kind of fully embedded within Acumatica. That's part of the natural distribution, functionality. So having this kind of stuff just helps the user, interact with the company. What we're seeing is not just kind of in a business to consumer realm, but we're seeing business to business want to do business, a lot easier using things like credit cards and customer portals and things like that. So anything we can do to help people, use, help customers engage better with their customers is what we're all about. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, just a couple of other quick enhancements on the kind of more on the financial side. AP aging by project. And again, nothing too earth-shattering here, but again, it's one of those features that's something we've been looking for a while. So that helps us out a little bit. And this one here, being able to do a RMA, a return material authorization by a support case. Again, another enhancement that just helps some of the usability. So if the customer is wanting to return something, it might start as a support case and then integrate it into an RMA. Okay, so again, flying through stuff fast and switching gears a little bit. Distribution enhancements. And so there are several distribution edition enhancements, and I am, again, not getting into all of them, but I've highlighted 3 of them here that will speak to specifically and get into a little bit more detail. So sales allocations, profitability, visibility, and sales orders, and some WMS or warehouse management, picking and packing enhancements. Okay, so subtle, I'm going to say this is a subtle feature, but it's something that's very important. Sorry, can you hear me fine? My microphone just changed. Okay. While subtle, it's very important if you're a company that's a distributor and you need to manage order priority. So if a customer places an order and you want to manage it in first in, first out priority, that the system will normally do it. But one of the issues that's existed so far has been managing back orders. So if you have back orders that are out there, the system will naturally then assign orders to, in maybe not the order that you'd like. And so this again, while subtle, it's very important for distributors if they want to honor that first in, first out policy to allocate stock once back orders come in. And this is very relevant for in times of supply constraints, or if you're dealing with products that are very, very high in demand and you've got a lot of customers that want them right away and you've got back orders lined up for them. So this is, again, a subtle but very important feature for our distribution customers. And what the other thing is that greater flexibility in control of how you do the allocations. And I'll just share a quick screen here. You might not be able to see it very well, but what it tells you is how you can manage stock allocations across different orders and across different parameters. So there's a lot of different parameters here for the user to kind of filter and sort and then manage priorities and assignments, things like that. So you can do, manage it based on first in, first out, that kind of things like that, or order priority. So if your best customer is one that you always want to honor, then you can then prioritize orders and it just manages a little bit better. The next thing, sales order by line and margin. So just a little bit more enhancements in margin and profitability calculations by line. And it's also, this is just kind of a screenshot showing the line calculation. It's been there, but there's there's a lot more enhancements, particularly in the side panels. So in the side panel, you have other different view here. Again, you can navigate to the different side panel views using this type of menu, but you can kind of see the margins and things like that in there. Now, what we can now also enact is some workflow based on that. So say if your margin was too low, you could enact a workflow that assigned it to the sales manager for approval. That kind of stuff. Then again, just a couple of little enhancements. WMS, so warehouse management, that's an embedded application in Acumatica. You don't have to have a third-party product. This is just a quick screenshot of the device. There's just been some usability enhancements in picking and barcode scanning, lot serial scanning, that kind of stuff. So, it's been, we have been looking for some enhancements for a while, and it gets better and better all the time. So that's kind of how I'll leave it with there. But the point being is that Acumatica has this functionality embedded within it and it gets better all the time. I think with that, I'm going to switch over to Steve here, and I think we're going to get into a little bit of the highlights around the manufacturing edition. So Steve, I'll send it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Yeah, I just want to touch on a couple of the items for manufacturing and project construction area. So as you can see, manufacturing has a couple of new things that are in there. We're going to cover off a couple of them today. So the first one will be managing costs on production orders. So on the next screen, it shows us on a production order, when you're creating them, they identified a couple of different issues. So you see the problem statements. Production order is closed. You can't actually open it and adjust cost if materials or labor was not applied to it or anything like that. But on the other side, if it's not closed, it's marked as completed, employees can continue to add time to it or materials to it even after it's been sent to inventory. So they've added a lock status in the middle. So now when you set up your production orders, you can choose that when the item is finished completion, you've finished manufacturing it, you've put it into inventory as it's completed, you can choose whether it locks the order automatically or not. If you do, it locks it, prevents people from adding more materials and more labor and any other costs to it, but it allows accounting or the production manager to look through it, make sure everything is there. If you need to change things, you can unlock the order, issue more materials or adjust whatever the time is if something was missed, and then you can lock it again. So it just gives a little bit more control on that because there's some questions around it. Some people had concerns about their users adding time or materials after. So what this does is it gives you a couple of different options. So the first one on here I mentioned, what's in the lock production orders before closing. So you can set that preference so it automatically locks it as soon as the production order is done. So when it gets to completed, it turns the lock on for you. And then if you need to add things, somebody has to go unlock it. So you get that choice of being able to lock or unlock by your cost accountant or whoever has the cost accountant role. And the last thing is you can require it to be locked. So if you choose to not lock it, you can mark it as completed, leave it unlocked, but before you can close it, somebody has to actually process the lock status. So it does give you a little bit more control around those things and lets the cost accountants make sure that the costing is all done correctly when it goes to inventory. So the other major change in manufacturing is MRP, the material requirements planning is what MRP is. This has been solely a module that's come with the manufacturing component at the moment. So if you're just a distributor, you use inventory replenishments that comes with the distribution component. There are companies who were wanting to use MRP, but not do it and not for manufacturing. So there's a couple of reasons they did some changes here. The first one was users didn't understand what MRP meant. So they're changing everything. It's all going to be renamed from MRP to inventory replenishment. And you'll see in the little window there, it gives you a choice when you're setting up your item classes. Do you want the items in this class to use the MRP module, or do you want to use inventory replenishment? But all of the MRP screens are going to be renamed. So you'll see on the next slide here, most of the MRP screens, some of them like forecast, master production schedule don't change, but anything that had MRP in it is now going to be changed from regenerate MRP to regenerate inventory planning. So now everything will be called inventory planning throughout the system. What this is doing is this is the first step to simplify what does the module do, what is it trying to accomplish, but also in the future, they are considering the future development of being able to have distribution companies buy DRP, which would be distribution requirement planning. And they could buy it. So now it's not restricted to just manufacturing. So it gives you a few more options in there. There were a couple of other options in manufacturing, but those are the main few that our users are going to notice the most. When we get into construction and project now, the construction module has consolidated AR retainage invoicing. This seems like a simple thing. Acumatica added AR retainage, so when you bill your customers, you can actually do holdbacks of 10%, 5%, whatever it's necessary. What ended up happening was those invoices got created when you needed to bill that retainage. You created one invoice for every AR retainage. Now you can go through and they've simplified it so that when you bill your retainage and then the customer sends you one payment for 3 holdback amounts over time, you can actually apply it to all 3 of them at the same time. So they've increased that visibility on there, which makes things a lot easier for people that are doing holdback and retainage invoices. The next one they've included is project data viewing restrictions. So restricting visibility of the project data by user. So you see it exactly there. This you've always been able to do this using row level security. It's just more complicated. It's a little more cumbersome, as the screen mentions. This allows you to create project groups. And so you can have groups, users that are in different project groups, and they will be able to see specific projects. So now when I go in and I assign a specific project group to it, only the users that are in that group will be able to see this project. So what it's doing is it's saying currently it's the initial is we're saying the initial visibility is everybody sees all 6 projects. We can now create 2 groups, and we can have group test 1 and test 2, and we can assign the different projects to those restriction groups. And now users that are in those restriction groups will only see those. The nice thing about that is it means that when I'm looking for a project or I'm looking for a pro forma invoice, I can't look at pro forma invoices that are related to projects that I'm not in a group for. So I can't even if I know the number, I know the project number, I know the invoice number, I still can't type it in. It will tell me that it doesn't exist and I don't have access to it. So it's a much easier way of restricting the visibility of who can see what in projects now. And the last thing in here, similar to what they did with the other areas that Murray mentioned earlier with the inventory side panels, they increased some side panel visibility in the project, in the construction area. So now you can start seeing project issues, drawing logs, RFIs, like requests for information. All of those things can be seen on a side panel. You no longer have to go to multiple screens. So you'll notice, or you might not notice, that the project screen has actually been renamed to be Project Hub. And that's because it will be the core hub that all your project management can be done from. You can see all the information related to this project either on the screen or via a side panel that's on the right-hand side. So this will be a really nice usability feature, makes getting at your data much easier. And I think those are the main ones for manufacturing and construction. So I'll turn it back over to Murray.
Well, actually, you're going to turn it over to me, but I see I'm Murray number 2, so that's okay. So thank you very much, Steve and Murray, for reviewing some of that. There's no doubt some features and functionality that will be very helpful to businesses to help them improve their workflow and their efficiency. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We'd be happy to spend more time with you if you're looking for more information. And again, we thank you very much for taking some time out of your day and spending time with us. Have a great rest of your day.